when Dana and I, well, when I, as some of the people on the fire department said, got religion, you know, well, he's just doing that because, you know, he's having trouble in his marriage, and it's just one of those quick fix to kind of get through. But it was an emotional response to the crisis. Well, there were some emotions involved, but it was a spiritual, you know, it was a change. And when it's Christ, it's a change for good, forever. And when it's a crisis and it's just an emotional response, it'll change for a short time, but then it goes right back. It was funny, just last night. Well, another thing that we have at our Eagle Valley, the house out there, we have a picture of that we took the day we came home that I got saved. You know, it's the kids and Dana and I, and the leaves were turning. But every time I see that, I go back and I remember, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for what God did. But I forget about all the mess. And Rosie was right across the street, so she knew a little bit of the mess that was happening, but she didn't know everything that was going on inside the house. But when I see that, I think back and this thankfulness and this, oh, thank you so much, Lord, comes back to me that I forget about. I forget about how messed up I was until I see something like that, and then it reminds me. It reminds me. And then I saw a commercial just last night, and you know, they're pushing the meth thing that was going on. Well, I not only had the alcohol problem going on, but I had the meth thing going on back 17 years ago. And they said less than 2 out of 10 meth addicts ever recover. Less than 2 out of 10, and I just happened to see that, and I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Of course, they told Dana, the doctor told Dana, well, with his alcohol and his meth addiction, you know, I give him 3 months tops, and so my suggestion to you is get out now. But thankfully, she listened to the Lord, because he said, yo, stay with that man. Maybe not those words, but I'm glad he did. But when it's Christ, it's a change for good. Now, like we were talking about, do we need reminders? Yeah, because we forget. We forget how good he is. You know, when you worship to those songs, and he was talking about, you know, God is so good, and you forget about when you were sicker than a dog, or you're going through that cancer, or going through whatever, or some crazy man was stabbing you with a knife at that moment, you know. But what was it, 4 or 5 wounds? Something
5.
like. It didn't
4 in the back and 1 in the arm.
But didn't hit a vital organ.
Nope.
You know.
Or a major blood vessel.
Yeah. So there you go. You know what? I'm sure there's days that go by you don't think about that, isn't it, Raj?
Yep. Every day. Every time I hear a dually truck going by.
Well, and something like that reminds you, and then it's like, thank you, Lord. But there are days that go by that you forget how he had you covered, protected you. Yeah,
We felt it that day too.
You know, it's a bad situation, but you know what? You look back, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. You know, I look back, thank you, Lord. You know, there's things in our life, but we forget. We forget how messed up we were, or that situation, or that you know, doctor, what that doctor said, or whatever the situation. We've all, but we forget. We've all had it, but we forget. So, you know, 9/11 was kind of a national wake-up call. But we can have, you know, we have 9/11s in our own life. Those things that happen that just catch us by surprise and, you know, knock us off our feet. But what do we learn from them? You know, are we living life like it's still 9/10/2001? Or are we living our life like it's 9/12/2001? In other words, after those things happen, does a little time go by and we forget the goodness of God? We forget how He took care of us, how He healed us. You know, it's easy to do. It's easy to do. But from here on out, let's try to live life every day filled with reminders. You know, whether you have to put a picture up, whether you have to put, you know, a Bible verse up, you know, on the mirror. Let's put little things up to help continually remind us of how good God is, how He took care of us, how He watched over us. And you know what? And there's hundreds of things in our lives we don't even know about where He protected us, where He kept us, you know. And let's put some things up around the house. Let's put some, you know, things up in the car. Remember, somebody gave me a little card, and I just stuck it in my dashboard, you know, by a speedometer. Every time I looked down, I saw I was speeding. I was like, whoa, whoa. Every time I looked down to see how fast I was going, you know, I would see a little card. It was just a little card that said, Lord, use me today, you know, to make a difference in somebody else's life. And you know, I could be going along in my selfish thoughts, and I would look down. It's just a little reminder. It's just a little reminder. And we need those things. We need those things. Because God had our back in the past. He's got our back today. And He's going to have it in the future. But is anybody hungry for God? Yes. Is there a hunger that's stirring in? Yes. It's, you know, it's almost like something's building, something's coming up, because He's really been putting this desire to be more like Him. And don't get me wrong, I still fall and I still do things and I still say things, but there's something building. It's almost like it's in the atmosphere to change. You know, and there's things I can't change about myself, but when I desire Him and I put them in His hands and I say, Lord, do it, please. Change this in me. Change this attitude. Change this feeling of unforgiveness that I have. You know, we got to get rid of that stuff. There's junk that He's talking to us about that we have to get rid of that is in our hands to do. And whether it's unforgiveness for someone, that we have to come to Him and say, okay, I have this in me, and I know it's not pleasing to You. I don't want it anymore. I give it to You. Change me. And He'll do it. He'll do it. But there's an act on our behalf that we have to do. We have to give it to Him. You know, there's some things that He gets our attention with, and there's other things that He speaks to our heart about, and we have to hand them over to Him. He won't just take them from us. But I guarantee, I know there's things in my life, there's things that I don't, an attitude or whatever it is, that I have to say, change me, Lord. Take this, I don't want to be like this anymore. And as a matter of fact, just this past week there was a situation, and well, put it this way, I was justified because I'd been done wrong twice. And so the second time, I wasn't real nice about it. I wasn't nasty, but I wasn't nice. And the Lord basically said it doesn't matter how you're treated. That's no excuse for how you treat someone else. And so I had to go back and try to apologize to this person, saying, yeah, what happened wasn't right. And when it happened again, it still wasn't right the second time. But you know what? How I acted? I don't have an excuse. I don't have an excuse.